Welcome to the fourth and last day of Formnext 2022 here in Frankfurt. I'm very happy that you zoomed in here in our morning talk today again, and I'm very happy to have you here, the audience at our booth, and you at home at the screens. I think we again will have a very impressive program today with a lot of lectures again here at the booth and a lot of discussions and conversations down. Sorry for that, but I'm coming to that topic a minute later. Maybe we start right now with that topic. No, I will first introduce my panel to you. As there is Tim Wischeropp, he's head of division process chain automation of Fraunhofer IAPT. Good to have you here, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
Daniel Princ, he is the Director Consumer Market Solution EMEA of Stratasys. Good to have you here.
Thanks,
that you found the booth. I heard it was a bit struggle to get here.
I had to do Google Street Maps to get there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. That's always a good helper.
Good
and again, Sven, you already know him. Everybody knows him. Co-host here and AM Insider. What I wanted to say, wow. That was a great party yesterday, wasn't it? So my voice is a little bit damaged, and it was a little bit late. Tim, did you attend the party? Look at him.
Yeah.
How good he's looking. I have a feeling that he maybe not have been there.
I have to admit that I skipped the party yesterday. Unfortunately, I heard it was a great event. But I've been here since Monday and been out every night, so yesterday I had to get a little bit of rest. But yeah, hope to be there next year again.
What a shame! It feels like, Sven, that we rocked the party. We both alone rocked the party yesterday, because when I hear it right, Daniel, you've been attending neither yesterday.
So, guys, either give me a pill to become 20 years younger, and then I will attend all the parties. Or my recipe to survive Formnext
is to go to bed. What should I say?
Is to go to bed early and be fresh early in the morning.
Perfect.
So skip the party, but we had a great opening at Stratasys booth. Probably you remember the stomp reinvented into recycling. That was good for the start.
But you know, my impression yesterday was that the whole community was there in Hall 9 and was dancing and rocking and doing conversation. And everybody, my feeling was everybody was so lucky, so glad to have each other. What was your impression, Sven?
I mean, yeah, that was the same impression I have. So the mood was excellent, and I think everybody was happy to celebrate again our reunion here at Formnext. And at the same day, I've never been there before, so now I understand why Friday normally it's the slowest day of the fair. It has nothing to do with visitors leaving. It's just about the party the day.
Just all about the party. Yeah. People are getting late here, but we are on time. And maybe we can slip to a more professional topic. Yeah, in our, let's say, 20 minutes, we want to dive into some topics like hardware, maybe. Where are aspects of innovation that we can drive additive manufacturing forward? That is the question behind. And can we happy to use hardware, happy to use new materials, happy to use new machinery, or the topic of automation is very important. Is it the process chain we have to look at? What is your impression? Where would you put your finger first?
I think it's probably a little bit of everything you mentioned. I mean, we need to increase every process step in the process chain, but I have the feeling that really addressing the process chain at all is the solution and the way we need to go. And this is also the discussions we had over the last days with the partners at our booth, etc. And when you walk around, you see that we understand that it's not only printing, but it's really the whole process. We need to automate the process, make post-processing more efficient, etc. And this is, I think, the big hurdle when we really want to go into industrial serial printing in the future.
So it's for you, it's a kind of red line through all the communities, through all the technologies that you want to automate all process steps, right?
I think it's exactly, automating all process steps and every step in between. I mean, at the moment, I think the machines itself, they are quite automated already. But, for example, building a part or build platform from like an LPBF machine to unpacking station, to surface treatment, there's still a lot of manual work necessary, which works for individual products, for small batch production. But if you want to go to large-scale industrial printing, that's not a solution, and you want to automate this process chain. And there's still a lack of solutions there and standards that are necessary. But I see that the topic is rising, and interest from the industry into that topic is rising, and getting pressure on developing solutions for that.
You talked to a lot of guys on the fairground, and what was the result of these discussions?
I mean, yeah, in terms of result, up to now there is no real result. We had Stefan Ring from AM Flow here in our panel, who was where we were discussing the startup scenery and the culture and what needs to be invested in, and we strive the topic of automation. That there's a big need for it. So my question to you, Danny, would be that you as a machine producer, are you pushing that topic as well? Because I mean, if we are not growing anymore because there's a missing part, or we stay in this prototyping phase and do not get to this in the industrial stage, so it would be bad for you as well. So are you pushing it, or supporting it, or doing automation by yourself?
I'll come to the answer, but I'd like to do one thing, right? I would like us to a little bit change the question, if I may, gentlemen, because if you're asking ourselves, what's the new hardware? What's the new automation? We are the amazing additive industry, and we're talking to ourselves. We're in the echo chamber. We're celebrating your achievements. What is fundamental question is, what is the problem that we're solving for the industry? The customer wants to do a sealed gasket for subwater. The customer wants to do a connector that survives, heat and chemical treatment. What is the use case? And then let's build the whole thing around it. Okay? So that's, I think, the fundamental question I would love to ask ourselves is, what is the use case that the big industry wants to solve? And then how do we actually solve it, the how? Now, to your question of the automation. On the hardware, there are obviously incremental improvements. And I can speak on behalf of polymers, because we are very much kind of polymers across all the product life cycle, so that's where we're watching. There's really nice incremental improvements. Edit laser here, higher resolution there, finer part quality over there, great stuff over there. I think to the question of automation, what is important is also to give customers a choice and recognize there are different versions of automations. There are people which want to have kind of all-in-one solution, press a green button, part comes out. There are people which want to have lights out, kind of line in, and there are people which say, just give me the Lego pieces, I want to do it myself and configure myself for that use case. And this is, to me, we're coming back to what is it that you are trying to solve? Are you trying to do interior parts for the plane? What is the best configuration of the automation? And that's the choice we need to give. There's not one answer. There's one important thing that I see in automation is that there was the hardware box, there was this washing machine, we call it post-processing, doesn't talk to each other, but I think it's fundamental and it's already existing, and we need to evolve as an industry further, is to connect it to your point of all connectivity. So the machine knows, what is it that I'm post-processing? What's the recipe? What's the material? How do I take the treatment of that material and do it right? And I certify it. And I think actually we can get ahead of the conventional industry, because the injection molder just jets out parts and you have no clue what's happening. But we, because we are fully digital, we can know at every single part how the process looked like, and we can backtrace it. It's not just the aerospace question, it can be a problem for every industry.
So there are some sensors in injection molding too, so that's okay, but that's not the point. I slightly disagree what you said, because I'm not sure, on Tuesday or on Wednesday we had the VDMA here with a survey, and they were asking people what is the most problem that we do not go ahead with the growth of the market of additive manufacturing. And among others, the first point was cost. And so if people outside in the industry say, do we adopt a new technology where we are not so sure how it works, or where we have to be get familiar with, and then somebody says, but no, don't do it right now because the costs are so high, then we have a problem one step ahead of what you're saying. There might be a nice application that might look fancy or look useful to them, but if the financial guy says it's too much expensive, then you have you get not to the point that you can include the new application to your own business. And so I'm again, I don't want to stress automation. I think we can talk about a lot of other material, educational personnel who can handle everything in AM. I think we can talk about much aspects, but automation might be the point in getting the cost on a lower base, that the people will adopt it earlier. That was my idea behind the topic.
I think it's one key part of it, exactly, is the automation of that. I mean, when we take a look at where costs are being produced for an AM part, for like an application, and you go for serial production, we see that the biggest cost structure comes after the printing. I mean, we can increase the printer speed, add additional lasers to that, but this will not help to the solution of really bringing down the costs. It's really streamlining the everything that comes after the printing, where we see this is really the big hurdle. And it's about automation, it's one part of it, but it's also streamlining the process chain, maybe getting rid of one of the process steps. If I have a better printer, I maybe, for example, for metal part, I don't need to hip the part anymore. So I can completely get rid of one additional process step, which is also a significant cost driver. Right. So I think automation is one of the parts, but a very critical part to bring that down. Yeah.
At one point, I'm totally with you, by the way. As I'm originally from sales, sometimes what I'm missing is the customer perspective or the application perspective. Because we celebrate ourselves about new technology, new innovations, and everybody says, wow, this was incredible again. And then you ask, what is the application is used for? And then it's a niche thing, a tiny little thing that sounds crazy, but there won't be that many people using it, or there's no economic scale behind that. So there's where I'm totally with you. We should, in my opinion, in the industry, look a little bit more into where are applications that can be industrialized with AM, and there, of course, is then the need of automation, and this is the push then in doing streamlining, automation, saving costs, etc. Because then you need to do it, and then there's the scale behind it to do so. Do we have already such a, let's say, approach? We
definitely have use cases, right? But basically, I would answer to the cost question, and I'll come back to that, right? So, obviously, there's this very obvious answer that we are providing as an additive. Do you want to wait for your mold machine for 4 or 5 weeks and then ship it, etc., right? Versus doing it overnight. Obvious, right? All of us are telling that story, right? So that's a big kind of cost improvement. There's another thing to the cost, which is very important. Let's not forget, back to the echo chamber and who we are. And how significant are we outside to the world, right? We're 0.01% of the manufacturing. If you ask the Boston Consulting Group, when we are going to be, when we retire, 2020, 2040, we will be 1% of the total manufacturing. 1%, this is around 300 billion industry, right? That's a big one. We're like 10, 15, depending who you ask. 1% in 20 years. So this is the limitation of the scale. The moment we are scaling faster, and I would say depending on the technology, the total cost of ownership could be machine, but also as you go faster, it becomes a material. Because as the machines are becoming faster, the scale of the total cost of ownership of the machine gets smaller, and then is the material. And the material game is very, very simple. It's the volume game. The higher the volume, powders, photopolymers, thermoplastics, then the cost goes down. That's, to me, the key to unlock the lower cost, and it's kind of the chicken and egg. So we need to make the whole solution faster in order to have a higher consumption of materials, in order to put a pressure on the material vendors to make sure that we can lower the total cost per part and then drive further the adoption of additive to get to 1% in 18 years.
I get the point. Do you think we are sometimes, that's sometimes I ask myself, because I have a lot to do with industry as well, so are we too much in our own family, let's put it that way, and not considering the size?
Very often.
On the other side, and I must admit that, I mean, of course, we are small, but we should compare with the real impact. Is the impact only 0.01% in terms of questions of sustainability or questions of innovation or questions of solving problems of the world, or is that impact at least much higher? Because you can be pretty small but have a great impact. That would be a nice question. Tim, how do you see that?
I think there are special applications where additive manufacturing really contributes to a big impact. However, I definitely have to agree that the cost is always the point. I haven't seen anybody paying more for a part, even if it's better. I mean, for example, aerospace industry, they say you can pay like 1,000 euros per saving a kilogram. Nobody pays that. I haven't seen anybody paying that. So it's always critical to find the right application and then bringing that to the industry. And one point I wanted to add to your point is, from the customer perspective and automation point of view, if you have a special application, you can have already a very good, streamlined process exactly for that part. And you see that. I mean, also when you walk around the fair these days, for example, at our booth, the neighbor, and we have Dundee, and they have like scatter grids. I don't know how many 1,000 parts of that they print in serial production, tungsten. It's a very niche application, but it's a very, very nice niche application where you can see how you can streamline and optimize a specific part of a component and have a big impact on the overall performance of your machinery. And I think it's really looking for these small parts where additive manufacturing can add a good value, where the part is cheaper, and then increase the overall performance. And I've seen a couple of very good examples. I haven't seen before here on the booth these days, but it's small parts with big impact. Yeah.
And I would maybe add to that and answer to the previous question that you had, which is where we can add value beyond just the total revenue that we're bringing as an industry. For instance, with additive, you can create completely new products that were not possible to be done before. Think about, we're all aging, right, as European population. We need medical devices. We need medical devices, which, for instance, are dosing, drugs to us on a very customized level. Which brings us to the point
of individualization.
Exactly. So you can have a lot of individualization, not just for fun, not just that I want to have, name of my dashboard, but it's real practical implementation. So there's medical device industries, there's aerospace industries, there's other things where you can really have a customizable new product, and then we are creating more value than the conventional industry.
And then the size doesn't matter that much anymore. It's
exactly, because you don't have the reference, right? You have the reference. So if you have a drug delivery system, which is basically saving a patient, which you cannot have today, that's completely new added value that additive
That would have been my next question to you. How do you drive at Stratasys the advantage of individualization of the products in marketing, in awareness for the end users, for the customers? Because if you can do that, if you can get it in your head that you do not need to ship thousands of shoes, but just the one which is good fitting, then that it's the point of sustainability. Yeah. Well, before we started our talk here, we had to chat about sustainability, and that is a sustainability point of view, and that may be crucial to get into the mass production, but not mass production as it's done with injection molding, but mass production because everybody gets his individualized product. Right. And I'm talking about the industry as well, like spare parts and something like this, which might be, you cannot install the original spare part because the machine has, some lifetime, and you cannot put in a completely new part. You have to put in an adjusted part. That may be a real crucial point to get fast forward in additive.
So let me build on that question. I don't think that company A, B, C here is going to create a new industry. This is not for us to do the job. I think when we are going to see the proliferation of additive is where the Adidas and Nikes and Fords and GMs and Airbuses are basically naturally having the capillarity of adopting additive. This is very important that in few years in the past, everyone in this industry said, I have my use case, I'm company A, and I'm company B, I have my own use case, it's all locked, I keep it for myself. This fragmentation of the business will bring us nowhere. If you look at other industries, competitors are partners, they work with each other, they compete each other. We need to do much more partnership with the industry leaders. So what we are doing, to your question at Stratasys, we're really going verticals, aerospace, automotive, general manufacturing, consumer goods, dental, medical devices. And in each, we are basically working with few key leading names, which are, they want to adopt additive, we're relevant for them, they're relevant for us, and we build the use cases in those industries with those companies, not ourselves, with those companies. So you will see already, Airbus and all the other guys are bringing the standardized additive use cases out to the market, to their supply chains. Now, what's needed? What's needed? no more hype. Please, no more hype. We need data, testing, validation, processes, application guides, boring, hard work to get into the manufacturing. That's the way.
That's why I was so excited when we had our partner country France here on stage, because I first thought, okay, we present a partner country, it's okay. But then we had Decathlon, we had Renault, and they had their use cases with them. Like Decathlon, they couldn't deliver 6,000 bikes, so they needed to use additive in order to print the plastic part and to get the cable through the bike. And it worked out. The part was even better than the original one they planned. It was quite expensive, yeah, but they delivered on time. And those are the stories where you see the advantages of additive in, as you said, in a company that everybody knows, and this creates awareness, basically. Yeah.
When you're talking about the verticals, can you give us a number? How many products do you sell to a single customer? So in average.
So basically, today there are the people which have adopted additive, right? Especially the aerospace business and the leading automotive brands, because for aerospace, the lightweighting, that was immediate thing that they recognized 20, 25 years ago. We already have, I would say, farms. There are already farms of machines which are basically producing. But you're right, it's this 0 point something of the total BOM. It's this really, really small part. It's basically serving, you know, what the example that you just gave, there's kind of two ways to think about it. Additive is saving cost, or additive is creating new revenue. Additive is saving costs is like, okay, spare part problems, supply chain issues, okay, I plug in additive as a plaster, and it saves my cost and saves my production line. But I think what we'll see more where additive will bring value is when people think about additive as a new revenue stream. What else can I do with this rather than just plastering the problem? And I think that's where I think additive can add way more value. Many customers have started with this, can this plaster my problem? Right? Can I do spare parts?
Yeah, true.
And now they are moving into, hey, I can actually do much more high-value products and differentiate myself from the competition in my vertical by having additively or digitally designed workflow, which ends up with an additively made product.
And with that, the amount of sold or produced parts is increasing. I get
Absolutely.
it right. And
Absolutely.
you don't want to tell us the one or the other number.
I know the numbers by heart. I cannot go into the details, but it's really, per customer, it's tens of systems which are running today production already. This is already happening. Or very often, what happens is that the big OEM is standardizing the process and goes to the suppliers, which have service bureaus, service offices providing the parts according to the recipe. Basically, the most advanced industry is aerospace. They run in this modus operandi for the past 7-8 years.
Which is, you tell us about a very good customer journey, let's say. We have a journey today, the last day of the exhibition. With a quick answer, please. What will you look at the last hours of exhibition, and what is your tip to our spectators out there?
Very good question, because I didn't have too much time to walk around and really see the booth. So this is what I will do
so
today.
It's mandatory to get an overview.
And Friday is a good day, as you mentioned. It's usually the calmest day, so you actually have time to talk to the guys on the booth. So this is what I will focus on today.
Thank you, Tim. What will you do today?
We have some surprising executive visits from people that are in this big industry. So I'll take care of them. And in the afternoon, I'll go drink beer with my competitors.
Perfect. Sven, I don't have to ask you because we
I do
are
pretty
here
much
on
the same
stage.
as you do.
the same as I do. So, dear spectators out there, the audience, we will be here for you the whole day. But now let's start into the trade show day together. After some short Formnext highlights, we will have an AM panel here supported by ceramic applications. And Sven, you asked me about where are the ceramic applications. They will be here on stage right after our Formnext highlights. See you then.